Hey guys, I put the 5 tubes in a box with some padding and taped it up. Put that on the side for safekeeping. Got my little tub of screws and miscellaneous parts I took out there. And I've got the radio on my workbench. I've still got the TV, Sentinel TV I'm working on, taking up most of my workbench, so I'm kind of squished into the corner here, but that's enough room to work on this. So, a few things we can do while we're waiting for those parts to show up. One is to clean off the chassis. What I like to do is start out with a soft, sable little paintbrush and loosen up all the dirt. See this, at first I thought this was actually corrosion on here, but no, it's just mainly dirt. And once you get that off, you can see that there's actually the tube numbers stamped into the chassis, which is nice, so I know when I put them back in without looking at the tube chart. And capacitor plates and so on. Just be careful so you don't break off any wires like these, like the antenna wire here and so on. Alright, now after I do a bit of that, to really get all the dust out, I like to use a can of compressed air. My local Micro Center computer shop has these on sale periodically in 3-packs for about $10. Otherwise, you can just turn it upside down, shake it, or blow it off. You know, it's just your own lung power. But this stuff works really nice. Just a few spurts. Yeah, dust goes flying all over my workshop, and that's why I clear it out periodically. All right, then do the same underneath. Get all those dead spiders out of there. Cobwebs and so on. Again, compressed air, and more, and so on. You get the idea. And sometimes these wires can have, kind of crap on them, almost like some of maybe the wax from the capacitors that dripped onto them. You know, or they got a little bit sticky and there's junk glommed onto them. What I sometimes use is a little lacquer thinner or mineral spirits on a little cloth pad and actually wipe down the wires. Just be careful, do a little test spot first to make sure that your solvent won't actually dissolve the wire insulation. Likewise, a lacquer cleaner can do a pretty good job cleaning up the chassis if it's dirty. And for example, see on the solder blob here, there's a lot of crud on either side. That's actually the rosin flux from the solder, which is basically tree sap. A little denatured alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, mineral spirits on a Q-tip will clear that right off. I also use that after I solder on new stuff myself to clean it off. All right, once it's cleaned up. Oh, and if there is rust, you can use some Naval Jelly rust remover. Check out my other videos. I've got one specifically on cleaning chassis, and I show how you can use Naval Jelly and WD-40 to polish down a rusty chassis. But this one doesn't have any rust, so no need for that. Okay, now something else I noticed right away with this radio is that the tuning is really stiff. And that's generally because the bearing points on this tuning capacitor have dried out. The grease and the oil dried out. What I like to do on these, because it's pretty tight quarters, is to ideally use a needle oiler, which is they make these for watches and clocks. It's basically like a syringe, but it's filled with oil. Otherwise, just use like some 3-in-1 oil. If the applicator's too big, squirt a little bit out and put it like on the end of a toothpick, and then drop a few drops in there. Where you want to hit up is like right on the end. Here, and at each point where it intersects the metal, and the main one is up in here. You can actually, I think, see the ball bearings in there. I really cared about this. Was a really valuable radio that was really gunked up. I might actually take this apart further, clean out the bearings with maybe like some WD-40 and repack it with grease and so on. I'm not going to bother for like a $5 radio. Okay, and then rotate this, and already I can tell this is moving much, much easier. Back and forth, back and forth. And something else that might happen is this dial cord may slip as you're turning the tuning dial, and that's usually because where it wraps around the axle here, it's not getting enough of a grip. A simple remedy for that is to rub a little beeswax, paraffin wax, something like that along this cord, like rosin maybe for a violin bow, to just give this string a little more grip as it goes around that brass shaft there. Alright, that's moving pretty good. Now, like I said before, this speaker is really gunked up. It's tempting to try to peel this out. One thing I really don't like about this is all this gunk is just sitting on the surface of the speaker, and it's adding a lot of weight to it. A much better way to do this, I show in one of my other videos on speaker restoration, is to use a type of glue that actually just soaks into the paper fibers and binds with them rather than glomming on top like this. But again, this is an inexpensive radio. If I ruin this speaker, I don't have any more on hand, and so, you know, if I ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. Alright, well, that's about it until the parts show up. I placed my order yesterday, and they're supposed to arrive on Friday, so I think I'll pick up then. So, that's all for tonight.